What is happening, y'all? Cowboy here, and welcome to my beginner's guide for Wild Hearts. Now, whether this is your first foray into the hunting genre or you're a veteran, hopefully this video will teach you something. I have about 20 hours in the game at this point, and as I played through, I just jotted down things that I wish I had known sooner, and that's the purpose of today's guide. So we're going to be covering a bunch of different topics, including Karakuri, Dragon Karakuri, a couple things in the menus, weapons, equipment, a little bit about the town, and then of course some hunting basics. So let's jump into it. In terms of spoilers, this is the second chapter of the game, so incredibly minor spoilers. You're going to see some monster names. We're going to be hunting one of the first monsters in the game, but you're not going to see anything late game or anything like that. But to start, let's talk about the basic Karakuri. Now this is kind of, to be honest, the heart of Wild Hearts. We have 4 basic ones that we're going to get access to fairly early. Just to take a look at these, we have the crate, the springboard, the glider, and the torch. Now, basic Karakuri are semi-permanent. What this means is that either I destroy them or a monster destroys them. Otherwise, they'll persist in the world for a while. What's nice about that is you can use them to make little shortcuts. For example, this one right here. I don't have to do anything. I just run at it. I'm going to automatically climb those crates, and then they're going to bounce me on up. So I just leave that. It doesn't matter if I stay on this map or I leave, I go somewhere else. Those crates are always going to be there waiting for me. On top of that, crates or things in general are quite snappy. So for example, if I wanted to put 3, while this menu's up, I'm holding left bumper. I just hit A 3 times and look at that. Instantly I got 3. And then boom, I can use those to jump on up and do a big old juicy attack. Now, the whole point of basic Karakuri is not only do they give you usage in the world, but they also have some type of enhancement with the combat. So for example, if I am jumping and attacking, you can see it's pretty lackluster. If I go off of a crate though, going off the crate and jumping up, similar to before, I had a plunge attack. And as you saw with 3 crates, I actually had an even higher plunge. So these are both height as well as plunge attacks. The springboard is going to be iframes as well as a dodging attack. And you can see my regular dodge, it's going to cost a lot of stamina, whereas when I hit the springboard, you can see it actually refills my stamina. So on top of being a big dodge as well as a significant amount of iframes, it's also an excellent way to get your stamina back. So if you're using something like the Nodachi, where while you're charging it, you have to, it's going to fill your stamina, you can use that to get your stamina back on the move. Over here we have the glider. I'm going to probably, hang on a second, but I need to actually break one down just to make sure they're not getting in the way of each other. Just the one, please. Thank you. The glider is an excellent mobility tool. We can use this to hop on up in the air and glide, avoid falling damage. And then on top of that, we can also come out of the air with the glider for an attack. You know, like I said, everything, all these basic Karakuris should be considered extensions of your own punching. And of course, the last one we have is the torch. You just run by it, and it's going to enchant your weapon with fire, just allowing you to do some extra damage. Now, all of these Karakuris are going to cost thread. You can see down at the bottom, I'm down to 1 thread. If we were to hit the left trigger, we will scan the environment, and anything that I can use to get thread is going to be highlighted. Walk on up, hit the left trigger, boom, boom, boom. 3 hits, you're going to extract thread. Very fast process. In the middle of a fight, you can do something known as Hunter's Arm to overload on thread, which we'll talk about later. But in general, as long as you're attacking a monster, you're going to be pulling thread from it. So moving on from there, I want to talk about Dragon Karakuri. Now these are more permanent installations, things like the hunting tower right here, or the camp, or the fire, or whatever the case is. Now to get these, the first thing you have to do are have dragon pits. Dragon pits are found throughout a map. Each map has its own dragon pits, and you can see a couple here. The red ones are ones that I have already uncovered. There's one over here that I haven't uncovered, and we're going to go get that in a second. But as you get dragon pits, what it's going to do is it's going to increase your total resource capacity, and everything you make is going to take up a certain portion of that capacity. So for example, in the current zone that I'm at right now, it only costs 5 earth to make a hunter's tent, because this is considered like a pre-established camp zone. Think of it like an area that you could camp in a Monster Hunter game. But if I leave the town a little bit and I try to make one, you can see now it's going to suddenly cost 50. And these are considered temp resources. So if I build it, you can see that my total, I now only have 10 earth remaining. But if I go ahead and I end up destroying this, I will get those back up. I'm back to 60. So just think of it as resources are borrowed to sustain these. And these are only destroyed if you destroy them. If a Kemono runs on up in this camp and ends up attacking this, it'll break. but as soon as the fight leaves the area, this is going to regenerate itself. Now, talking about the basic kimono and some of the purposes behind them, real fast, I do want to touch on the campfire, because the campfire is going to involve the tsukumo, which are these cute little ball things you see around me. Now, the tsukumo can be found all over the map, and as you find them, they're going to give you old cogs, and you can use those cogs to upgrade them. And I want you to think of these guys like the kodamas from Neo. They're hidden all over the place. And, you know, you just find them, upgrade them. Now its attack is going to be enhanced. Increasing the defense, it allows it to taunt the monster. The assist, it throws out a healing mist for me. The threader will help regenerate threads. So all sorts of useful things from these little guys. And that's going to be, in my opinion, the most important thing of the fire. Because besides that, you can pick a hunt, you can go to online mode, you can return to Minato. We can do all of that from the map to begin with. Now, we'll talk about the other stuff real fast, just the ones that I currently have. Hunter's Tent are considered fast travel points. This is just a lantern. The Forge allows you to do everything that you could in town, so change equipment, make weapons, make armor. Drying Rack is going to dry out food, which on that note, to eat, you just hit left on the D-pad, and the way it works is you just gobble up resources until you hit 100. So for example, this is going to give me, we'll go for the 6 and 4 here. So this is going to give me 6 health, 4 attack boost, and it's going to cost 40. I have a total of 100, so boom, boom. And then I have 20 remaining. So if I go here, we'll just get an extra health boost, and you'll see that has put my food meter all the way up to 100 down there in the bottom left. Going through the other stuff, though, hunting towers will locate monsters. It'll locate tsukumos, all sorts of stuff as you upgrade them. These are like Dark Souls signs. You can just leave stuff. Flying Vine and Wind Vortex are considered Traversal Karakuri. We're going to be talking about those in a second. The Paddle Scoop gets me fish. You know, we have the Training Bear. So there's all sorts of these. And real fast, just to talk about the Training Bear in particular, you do start with the Training Bear in the first zone. I'd still highly suggest you make your own, because you're going to have a full weapons training menu where you can modify things, and this won't show up on the other bear. Now, a lot of these Karakuri, some of them are just going to unlock. Some of them you need to unlock yourself. So here in the menu, we go to the Karakuri menu, and you can see all sorts of stuff. So over here is the Dragon Tent. Over here is the Forge. Over here is the Hunting Tower. And some stuff in here is going to be unlocked with certain actions. Like, for example, the Firework. This is considered a fusion Karakuri. As I'm playing, something is going to happen that's going to cause me to just unlock this, like a premonition in a hunt. So you can't just run down here and get it. You know, a good example is scrolling on down. You can see, you know, here's one. Enhanced Flying Vine, but you can see Awakening Condition, awoken by hunting a certain kimono. So even if I wanted to, I couldn't get that for the time being. If I wanted to get this, I couldn't for the time being. This is going to be stuff that it will just unlock as time comes on. But always be checking in that menu for upgrades, because there's a lot of stuff in there actually. Like a good example, I think, is this one right here. This just gives me more iframes when I'm using the spring extension. So very, very useful. But like I said, these are going to be permanent installations, and they're going to be one of the main ways you get around the map. So taking a look at this guy all the way over here, I could go on over to that, but instead I'm going to fast travel to this camp I have all the way up here, and I'm going to show you how I would go about using some of the Dragon Karakuri to reach my destination. So in a case like this, I'm going to go ahead and create a Flying Vine, left trigger to activate, and then I'm going to aim. Let me see what exactly, what's the farthest I can get. I hit that, can't go all the way out there. I can hit that tree though. So I hit that tree, I'm going to hold right bumper, and then I'm going to hit A. And that's going to jump me on there. And then coming off of this, I'm going to hit the glider. And we are getting a pretty fair amount of the distance covered. So looking at the map, you can see I've cleared a large chunk. I'll go ahead and abandon that. Just run on foot for a little bit. And it looked like this may actually be up on a mountain. So as we run on over, we'll see what we run into. I'll go ahead and grab that. That gives us the crystal. Those are the materials that we actually need to unlock these areas. And yeah, so I can see an area right there that I can go through. It looks actually, it might be a cave passing. We'll find out in just a second. Now we'll go from this and fall down. So let's say I want to get up. Here's another perfect time. I'll create the Wind Vortex. Just jump. That's going to lift me on up, and then from there I'm going to do my glider again. And look at that. It has brought me right on over. And this actually looks like it might be a special campsite. So we have some stuff here that's unique. Over here, these are considered like ancient trees. You can create wells to allow you to instantly fill up all of your healing. Let me see. I think this might actually, okay, it's not considered a main camp zone, so that would still cost a lot. But we'll go ahead, touch the dragon pit. And you can see it's going to cost me 2 mist crystals. And this particular pit is going to increase my wood and my fire capacity. So doing the second tier upgrade, same, just wood and fire. And then, so it looks like this whole pit is mainly just going to be wood and fire. But, and this is essentially what you want to do. Because now, if I wanted to come over here, you can see that wind Karakuri is still on the map. And then over here, we still have that flying vine on the map. So you can leave those around in the world to create advantageous travel situations for you. And that's a thing that took me a long time to really get down. I was just like, come on, man, come on, just chasing after the Kemonos. And you really don't want to do that. You want to strategically place stuff like this around the world. Furthering up on the note of strategic placement, I really want to talk about the hunting towers, because honestly, you only want to have one of these next to your main camp, and then you want to spread them out. So when I use this to search for Kemono, if I open the map, it's going to activate any towers I have. And you can see my network coverage here isn't the best. There's a little zone over here that I haven't covered. There's a zone over here I haven't covered. And I just didn't realize this when I had placed them. Now, like I said, I can just, go here and I can go like this and just delete this and start replacing them. But I'm going to be restarting this game at launch to do it on stream. And there's no point redoing all my stuff right now. But just keep in mind, you want smart placement with these things to make sure you can uncover everything on the map, because you're going to get upgrades where they're going to detail like rare documents you can find on the map, Sukomos you can find on the map, and so you really want to have as much coverage as possible on the map. Which, talking while we're on the map and menus briefly, just to talk about some stuff, so we can search Karakuri, small Kemono, creatures, and materials all on the map. The main map will allow us to just switch between zones. You can also switch between chapters. So in chapter 2, there's a list of the monsters I can free hunt. In chapter 1, it's just going to be focused around these main monsters. So you can kind of switch back between chapters if you want. We have the Kemono menu. Inventory, the only thing I want to point out are these, the commodities. Material to be sold for money. That's it. There's no secret trade-in, just sell them for money. This is like your hunting card, if you will. Some information about your setup if people want to know what your build is. We also have tutorials all the way over here. And perhaps the most important thing on the last tab, the Cyclopedia. Now this is super useful because it's going to break down everything about the monsters you've hunted. We can see it gives us a strategy for the monster. We can see part softness, attribute, physical, and ailment effectiveness. Just to run through all of those, the attributes are wood, fire, water, wind, earth. The physical damage types are slash, pummel, lunge, and then the ailments are poisoned, ablaze, fatigued, frozen, and entangled. On top of that, we can also see the hunting rewards and how they vary between the monster being either calm or enraged. So in this case, I can see that when the monster becomes enraged, you can see the little 2 pop up. I can then get Rage Tail Fangs. We can also see small Kemono, and what I want to point out here is that little hand. If you sneak up on them, you can pet them instead of killing them, and that is how you get certain materials. So Leoprene Foot, you have to pet the little bunny rabbits. You can't kill them. If you kill them, you're only going to get cubed meat. So definitely something to keep in mind. I think there was a tooltip about it, but some other people I've talked to said that they never saw a tooltip, so definitely wanted to put that out there. Moving on from there, let's talk about weapons and equipment. So going on over here to the forge. To start, I'll do a brief overview of each weapon. There are 8 different weapons in the game. You start with access to 5. These other 3 you get a little bit farther into the story. But the katana, very beginner-friendly basic weapon. The main gimmick of it is just continue attack, and then you have an enhanced mode you can put it in. I'm a big fan of the katana. The Nodachi is all about staying in an EI stance and then charging that up to unleashing a very heavy strike. Definitely a high skill weapon, needs patience, needs good dodging, like very, very liberal usage of your spring steps to get around while you're maintaining the charge, but it can do some big chops. The bow is a lot of fun. The way the bow works is you have a sideways shot and then a vertical shot. The sideways shot mark the target, and then the vertical shot will explode all those marks. So really, really fun. The maul is like super unga bunga. As you play with it, you have to time right trigger presses to extend the handle of the maul to a point where it gets comically large and the bar is whipping. And the more you extend it, the bigger and beefier these hits are going to get. But the timing is quite tight on it, so it's definitely a high skill weapon. Speaking of high skill, the Bladed Wagasa. This is the parry god weapon. It is all about constant attacks. As you land parries, you're able to build up a gauge even faster, going from green to yellow to red. Getting that gauge up to max allows you to just pump out damage, like insane damage. But the parry window is very tight on this. Moving on to the cannon, this is a more stationary shooting. While the bow is mobile, this is like a siege type device. Kind of actually reminiscent of the siege heavy bow gun from Monster Hunter, because as you hold and shoot, your speed shoots faster the longer you're shooting. But this has a really, really fun mechanic to it. Basically, you build up a heat gauge. When it gets to a certain point, you can fire out a mortar that's empowered. If that hits the monster, it creates like an empowered zone on the ground. And then if you go to fire another mortar from that empowered zone while you're also in heat, you supercharge your cannon, and then you get to blast out a massive laser beam. So really cool. The blade and claw, oh my god, this is the most weeb weapon to ever exist in a hunting game. It's literally Attack on Titan, which, you know, spoiler alert, Omega Force, the folks behind this game, they also made the Attack on Titan games. So yeah, you're gonna play this and be like, oh my god, it's literally Attack on Titan. You attach a claw onto the monster, and then you whip around attached to a steel wire, or probably a Karakuri thread actually, but you just zip back and forth doing massive amounts of damage. Super fun to play, incredibly over the top and flashy. Last but definitely not least, the Karakuri staff. This is probably the most high skill ceiling weapon in the game. It's 5 different weapons in one. As you attack, you time right trigger presses to do a transformation attack. If those connect, you build up a gauge, and eventually you transform it into Super Mega Giga Chad Greatsword, doing massive amounts of damage. Personally, my favorites so far are the Karakuri staff, the Birch Claw, and the Katana. All of the weapons are really good though, so don't let me dissuade you. Everything in this game is crazy good. I've played with all the weapons and had fun with all of them for sure. Moving on from weapons, just to talk briefly about crafting them actually. This system kind of has like a build your own weapon type thing. So for example, if I was going to create, well actually I don't want to create one because I don't have a spare. But for example, when I made this katana, so I started here. I went down here and I got Critical Master, and then I went over here and got Savage, and now I have the inherent skill on this of Nimble Fingered, but I also have Savage and Critical Master. And if I was to take it down here, I would lose Nimble Fingered, I'd pick up Final Blow, and then I could choose, I'll just do it. As you can see, I can choose between whether I want to have Savage or Crit Master, but I can't have all 3. So your inherited skills can move, your inherent skills are built in. Now you can do some fun stuff with this. For example, looking at this, you can see I started here, went boom for Crit Master, picked up Savage, went over here. It went up to 3, so I had Strong Arm Spear and the other 2. Went over here, so I still had the other 2 and Thread File. Jumped back up top, and then went over here. So now I have an inherent Crit Boost Fury, and I also have Crit Master Savage and Dodge Master. So you're able to snake these weapons around the trees to do a build your own weapon, if you will, which is super, super cool. As for forging armor, it's pretty straightforward. The first set of numbers you're seeing is my current. The second is the new set I would be making, just for comparison's sake. But there are no upgrades to armor as far as I can tell. You just forge it. There are human path and Kemono path modifications. That's that little bar you see at the bottom. The basic gist is there's certain skills that are only going to activate dependent on the path. So taking a look at skill details, having my water also cure ailments, I need to be fully on the human path to get that. Some other stuff though, for example, if I was to go, there's one that I really wanted that I just unlocked that I haven't had a chance to make yet. Oh, here we go. If I go all the way to full Kemono path, I get to withstand a single attack when I run out of health. So, you know, take one hit where I would die, but instead I survive. And the idea is these boots by default aren't going to do anything. The human path version of them, it's giving me 70 towards the human path. The kimono version is giving me 70 towards the kimono path. But you can see over here, I'd get strong swimmer. With this, I would get resurrection. So the idea is as you're picking your armor and as you're forging it, you want to align your path with certain skills. So you're going to mix and match pieces to get exactly what you want. But as far as I can tell, that arrow is going to move one way or the other. I don't think you can't get perks from both paths as far as I know, unless there's something that unlocks much later in the game. Let's talk about talismans, because it looks like there's just one, but in that one you can actually equip 5 talismans. So definitely make sure you are equipping them. You can have 5 total, but there is a cost association. So you can see taking this, I'm going from 20 to 39 because it has a 19 cost. As for getting talismans, you'll get these as you hunt, but you can increase your chance of getting rare talismans by using Hunter's Arm, which will show that off a little bit later in a hunt and talk about how that is executed. But before we go on a hunt, for now at least, we're going to hop over to town and cover some basics. So now that we're at town, I just want to run through some of the basic NPCs and things to look out for here. Right over here, we have our first guy with Yutaro. This is strictly aesthetic ornaments. You don't get any perks or anything on them. It just kind of changes how things look for your character. So just putting that out there. The blacksmith, you know, she's nice and all, but she serves the same purpose as what we can do in the field. Just keep in mind, you don't get a discount or anything for coming to her. Anytime you see NPCs with this icon, it suggests a quest that's active. Over here, this little icon is going to be the shop. So over here, we can sell those coins that I was previously talking about. I'm not going to attack you. I'm very sorry about that. Sell goods. You can see this is your main way to get gold, to be honest. But besides that, always check the purchase. For example, she has meat. I'm buying it just because I cannot possibly dry enough meat. So I'm always loading up on the meat. Besides her, this NPC isn't going to move there for a little bit. But Togahime, she's considered like the town princess or whatever. Just talk to her periodically. All she is going to do is you can report your hunting successes, and then that's going to increase your hunting rank. Hopping on over to here. This isn't going to unlock until about partway through the 2nd chapter, roughly the same time that the other 3 weapons unlock. But over here we have the bathhouse, which you're definitely going to want to go to, because if we go over to the bathhouse, we can develop a restorative bath, and we can use this to give ourselves permanent health increases. So definitely keep that in mind. And then down below here, with the last minute on the Karakuri, this is going to be the Fisherman's Guild. And you got to do a couple jobs before this unlocks, but I think it's worth rushing because these are just little side quests that you do them while you're hunting. You know, obtain 15 materials. And then I turn it in, and I get some goodies. This one I got to do a couple more, and then once I hit, I'll get 3,100 gold, and then he'll probably have a new set of jobs for me. But definitely want to keep an eye out for that. On top of that, occasionally there's going to be NPCs around town that are going to have dialogue for you. Usually they're going to be indicated by the scrolls, but occasionally it will, you know, you'll have to kind of seek it out. So I can see on my map right now that I have that scroll over there. I can have that scroll over there. But for example, I have a mission right now that is from the blacksmith. If I go over to, here we go, Minato requests, Inheritance Part 1. This was from Natsumi the blacksmith, but she didn't have that icon above her head because she's the blacksmith. So instead, when I was talking to her, she had an extra piece of dialogue that popped up, and I was able to grab the side quest from there. So just something to keep in mind as you're exploring the town. Now, before we wrap up, there are a couple of hunt-specific mechanics that I want to talk about, in particular the Hunter's Arm and the Fusion Karakuri. Now, the Fusion Karakuri, you're going to unlock these as you play the game. You're going to have premonitions in the middle of the hunt. You know, a couple of these are things like the firework, for example. So you won't even be able to get to this until the time comes. But these are very, very powerful tools where you combine multiple Karakuri quickly. So for example, running on up and boom, 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 I put together 3 springboards. Bonk! Big old hammer that comes out. Obviously, after they get used, they're going to disappear. But they are very powerful. Now, if I hold, let me put away that weapon. Actually, I won't pop up right now because that whole assistance thing is up. But in a second when that disappears, you'll be able to see I'll have a, up at the top there, you can see I have a bunch, and these are just the ones I've unlocked so far. So Bulwark, Elemental Lantern, Healing Mist, Pounder, Firework. These are all things that I am able to do and create fusions with. Now, beyond that, the next thing, and arguably more important, I want to talk about is the Hunter's Arm. Now, this is a technique where I'm going to need to damage this thing up a little bit, and after it has created, there's going to be zones like that one that I just created, where I can now do Hunter's Arm. Now, to do this, we're going to jump, and then we're going to hit the right bumper to latch on. Personally, I like holding it while I make contact, just so it's not as tight. There we go. And as long as you're above the spot, if you're not, you can maneuver a little bit Dragon's Dogma style. But as long as you're on top, you can hold left trigger, and then you're going to rip out a bunch of Kemono orbs as well as Karakuri thread. By doing that, you can see I've overcharged. So now I have 23 thread available in terms of my capacity. Now, and not only is that thread useful, because now, you know, if this thing is being annoying, I can do all sorts of stuff, you know, like, oh, this thing's getting annoying, guess what, baby? It's hammer time. We're doing double hammers, you know, so I can do stuff like that. But on top of that, what's really nice about the using the hunting arm technique is that if I finish this hunt, I'm going to have better quality hunter talismans, those talismans that we were looking at earlier. So it's very important that anytime you see opportunities, you go ahead and you actually try to take advantage of them. Come back here. Oh, it's actually about to run away, I think. Yeah, it's going into phase 2. Well, that's fine. The biggest things I wanted to cover here were, of course, the fusion Karakuri and then the Hunter's Arm, which we did. So either way, we are going to wrap things up here. I think I've covered everything I wanted to. It was definitely a lot of information. I've done a bunch of takes on this because every time I started recording, I was like, wait, I forgot about this. Wait, I forgot about this. Wait, I forgot about this. And there really is a ton to take in with this, but man, I'm like a sponge right now. I'm loving this game so much and having so much fun with it. So either way, I hope to see y'all out there. We're going to be streaming this a bunch. Like I said, I'm going to have a bunch of different videos on all the weapons, kind of breaking down some stuff to know to get started with each of the weapons. Hopefully y'all check that out. But otherwise, thanks for watching, and I'll catch y'all next time.